fuck school. Like, fuck everything, nigga, fuck school. Literally, nigga. She on a solar flare, ditching class. If the teacher catch me, I might beat her fucking ass. Tell that hoe to suck my dick, if she said that, I'm off task. My homies always cheat, so you know we gonna pass. Yeah. Fuck a 20 slip, I'm not going back. If I do go back, bitch, I'm going back home. I'ma uppercut a teacher if that bitch touch my phone. If I'm looking at your paper, nigga, leave my ass alone. Don't give a fuck how I look, bitch, I'm rocking Nike slippers. Bitch, I'm showing up to school if a white kid say nigga.
Hey, my name is Witty G, and the last time I talked about the friendly ghost, we looked at a few episodes, one of which focused on the pivotal civic duty of voting. More specifically, how corruption even manages to plague the campaigns of monsters. Oh wait, that's a problem in our world too. This time, in honor of the Halloween season, we will be returning to the odd three-dimensional graphics of this late 2000s cartoon to see what monstrous corporations fear most: the rise of the working class. If you don't know anything about Caspers Scare School and don't have the time to check out my last video on him, here's a quick rundown, and probably a better one. Caspers Scare School was a show inspired by the original character of Casper the Friendly Ghost, who was created by the team Seymour V. Raitt and Joe Oriolo. The story goes that Seymour Raitt created the story and Joe Oriolo made the mock-up designed for Casper. This 3D iteration sees Casper attending a boarding school in a separate dimension from the human world. Here, Casper learns how to scare humans for the grand purpose of, I don't know. There's no big goal for the characters, they're just attending school in the hopes of getting a diploma. You can bet that once graduation hits, they'll be as aimless and confused as any other former student. Casper's default setting of friendly often works against him at the school, causing him to get into trouble by pursuing the right thing. The monstrous dimension demonizes this kind of action, but there are moments where even the headmasters of the school deviate from this standard, such as when they harbored a horrifying creature they were secretly keeping as a pet.
It's not my rabbit.
We don't care whose rabbit it is.
My theory is it belongs to whoever's cage this is.
Hello?
Whoever engraved Mr. Cute Pants on it and hid it under your desk.
To avoid the very severest punishment this school offers, we can make you a one-time only, take it or leave it offer. Visits once a week, and you get to feed him every other week. No broccoli or string beans. They hurt his little tummy.
And then there are other times when they don't hesitate to turn a student into stone, using this material called Gargolite.
Get the liquid stone!
All because they thought that they had a human invader on the premises.
We should at least give him a chance to explain.
He's a fleshy. Explanation over.
Help!
Turns out, it was just a werewolf that was going through a bad shedding season. The series sees Casper navigating these rules, these intense punishments, and relentless bullying at the hands of a local vampire, all while trying to stay true to his friendly namesake. This is done usually with the help of his friends Mantha and Ra. Mantha, the zombie, is quick-witted, clever, and up-to-date on zombie politics. Ra, the mummy, is spontaneous, easily manipulated, a little dense, pretty conceited, but most importantly of all, he's the life of the party. Both are resourceful and find ways to help Casper out of the predicament he's most likely thrown himself into to help someone else out.
We don't take demands from students.
Then Quasi's on strike.
Strike? Strike?
Strike?
Nigga, what? Nigga, what?
And if you're wondering where the famous uncles of Casper are, they're located in Deedstown, a place that seems to be linked with the ghostly dimension because this is where all the class field trips tend to end up.
We have come to eat your yummy ankles.
Somehow, the town is constantly scared of these things, but doesn't have any defenses or even warnings about them. How have they not added a ghost-busting division to their law enforcement yet?
Food ready! I'm warning you. Keep it together, boneless head.
Nigga, what? Nigga, what?
This must be the work of that defund the police movement. Damn you, defund the police. Even when the giant floating pirate ship that functions as a school bus for the monster children drops anchor in the middle of the park, no one seems to have a care in the world. Even when getting scared by the monsters in real time, it's a quick run for help and then they're back to living their lives as normal. Indeed.
Nuts. Got him!
In Deedstown, the three uncles live in this abandoned house and often just hang out there, big chillin'. They used to attend Scare School but got kicked out and ended up here. I think Fatso used to talk to a girl around here too, but she ghosted him.
Got him!
Also living in Deedstown is Jimmy, the human boy that Casper has connected with, and he's rocking this blonde emo haircut.
Can you hear the silence? Can you see the dark?
Jimmy is aware of the monster world but keeps it a secret, even from his dad, who used to be a vacuum salesman or something until he found a new purpose as a ghost hunter. Actually, that's a correction, he hunts all monsters. The only thing he's really missing is a sci-fi show at this point. Hey kids, it's never too late to pursue your true life calling. And more often than not, if the episode isn't at school, it's in Deedstown, focused on Jimmy's life and the way it entangles with Casper's. One of the aspects that makes this show so intriguing, other than the PlayStation 2 graphics, is the variety of personalities in the school.
Alright, little fellers, chow time!
Okay.
We're given a ton of different monsters, from Flyboy to Wolfie the Werewolf, this blob creature, calaveras, dragons, and Frankenstein's monster. The episodes that intrigued me the most were the ones that moved away from the main cast and gave some of these side characters screen time to see what their stories are all about.
You're friends with a fleshy? Wait till I hear about this at school.
I've had it with you. I did you a favor, and all you've done is act like an obnoxious jerk. You want to tell on me? Go ahead, but don't ever come to me for anything else ever again. I never should have let you in my house.
How did they feel about being at this school? What did they do at the school? Why do they attend this school in the first place? Where do they see themselves in 5 years? Aimless and confused as any other former student. And lucky for us, some of these questions will be answered in the episode Ring My Bell, based on the famous Anita Ward song. This episode was written by Ross Hastings and storyboarded by Francis Barrios and Joe Garcia. The story will focus on the character of Quasimodo, his function in Scare School, the power of unionizing, and the strength of striking. So we open in the headmaster's office, and Alder and Dash are trying to watch some television. I like the idea of them secretly watching human TV and liking it, since they're such hypocrites to the rules they set for the students, and indulging in that kind of entertainment would be so taboo for them. Unfortunately for the twins, the signal is bad. They must be using Comcast. Fed up with a failed television, they call in Quasimodo, who either booked it from his room on the other side of the campus, or was just waiting outside of the door for them to call him in.
Quasi!
Yes, headmaster.
They send Quasi to the roof of the office, the apex of the school, where he nearly has an accident that I don't think their insurance will cover.
Little to the left. Little to the left, Quasi. Perfect!
Luckily, he finds just the right spot to put the antenna to ensure the headmasters can see their soap operas. The next day, in science, Professor Burns goes over the best ways to trap humans, giving a special shout out to foul odors. That's right, you're scarier when you're stinky. I'm talking to you, Smash players. Use some soap. While Mans is lecturing, Casper checks in on Quasi and finds out that he was in the same position all last night to keep the antenna signal strong. and still had to show up for class on time. Forgetting he's in class, Quasi falls asleep for what seems to be no more than 2 seconds, and that's all the time Burns needs to deliver a
unreasonably harsh punishment.
Casper sticks up for Quasi, realizing that this sudden slumber wasn't unprovoked. It was because of the headmaster.
How dare you contradict me, Casper? I want a 1,000-word essay on the many varieties of stink.
It really be teachers like this in class though sometimes. Wilding out thinking their classwork is the only thing a kid has on their to-do list, and it should be the most important thing on that list. Fuck out of here. We get a montage of Quasi handling the task around the school, from gardening to maintaining the cobwebs, saving students who find themselves in said cobwebs, and mopping. That's when the headmasters show up and give another commandment to Quasi.
Quasi, we need you to alphabetize our spell books. Now.
But I am mopping.
As you and I both can see, Quasi is literally in the middle of doing another chore right now, but that's not important. They don't give a fuck. Off to the side, the trio sees the blatant disrespect of both Quasi's time and his possessions. We even find out that was Quasi's favorite mop. Press F to pay respects. Casper, like me, has had enough, especially after hearing Mantha say this.
He does so much for the school, and no one even appreciates it.
We cut to the headmaster's office where Casper gives a list of demands.
Quasi needs 2 days off a week, more time to do his homework, and you gotta be nice to him. Oh, and a new mop.
And like any upper management who has just been requested not to use their subordinates like slaves, the duo laughs at them.
Ridiculous.
You serious?
They just throw the whole conversation away and tune back into their soap operas like nothing just transpired. Unfortunately, that antenna issue is still an issue. And who do they immediately call on to help? That's right.
Quasi!
Acting on instinct, Quasi starts to assist but catches himself saying,
No, not until my demands are met. New map, more homework time, be nice.
hell yeah, Quasi, let's go. Them niggas are utterly flabbergasted by this.
But we're the headmasters here. We don't take demands from students.
I've said that they are a terrorist organization, that we should not negotiate with them.
Casper solidifies the power move with a single word, a word that even flabbergasts Quasi.
Then Quasi's on strike.
Strike?
And with Quasi unable to do the work, the school needs a new custodial staffy. Of course, they turn to the person who put those evil leftist ideas in his head in the first place. Casper agrees, firstly because he believes Quasi deserves a break for the unreasonable amount of work he does around the school, and because Alder and Dash threaten his scholastic termination. But mostly for the cause. We then see Casper struggle with the variety of work Quasi does. Changing the candles on the chandeliers, changing the door hinges, and feeding the local sea dragon. This all looks so much easier as a ghost, by the way. Quasi has to do this shit on hard mode. Quasi would have to use a ladder and keep moving it just to do one full circular chandelier. In Burns' class, the stink assignment is up. The students must show off the smelly concoctions they made to ward off the humans. Extra points if your stinky mask comes to life like in Fleabag Monkey Face.
Ew.
Quasi, with adequate sleep and prep time, is able to make a delightfully disgusting scent. This is also in part to his lack of smell. This will be important later.
Oh, truly revolting. Wonderful.
Casper, on the other hand, since he's been playing custodian, hasn't had much time to prepare and only has a single sock from a fresh bag of Fruit of the Looms.
A sock?
Yeah, socks are stinky.
So, that's an F. Press F to pay respects.
I would have done better, but I had chores.
I don't give a fuck.
Get your stink up, boy. Also, Burns said something vaguely offensive towards the undead.
Even a zombie buried without its brain could do better.
I'll choose to take that as a compliment.
Get his ass, cancel his ass. Blacklist that motherfucker. We then get an homage to Quasimodo's original story as Rob mentions that it's almost lunchtime. This means the conditioning is working because the students are expecting to hear the lunch bell. The bell that the custodian rings, so Casper rushes to do so, only to realize that he doesn't have the upper arm strength to actually do so.
How does Quasi do this?
But are you really surprised though? Casper's not even skin and bones. Somehow he's even less than that. He's just like vibes. So instead, Casper resorts to the lunch triangle, something Quasi isn't a big fan of.
Triangle? You ring the bell using a little triangle?
What are you, stupid?
This, however, leads to Casper's bully, Thatch the Vampire, finding out about the new custodian job. Next, we see that lunch has devolved into monsters making a mess all over the ground and leading to a spontaneous food fight, all led by that annoying vampire. And all of which Casper will have to clean. Luckily, his friends are there to help as well. Real ones. Quasi, trying not to be a scab, fights off the urge to clean. Good for him. He's handling this strike way better than Drew Barrymore. Another mission is placed on Casper's to-do list, and it involves taking an electric eel out of the sink and finding a new home for it.
Whoa! Oh. Whoa!
Hey!
Whoa!
Based on Thatch's laughter, I'm gonna take a guess and say that he did it. In the headmaster's office, Casper is giving a progress check on his first day working the new gig.
You are a bad chore boy.
After attempting to quit, the headmasters remind our ghostly friend of the deal they made.
Oh, you can quit, but then you'll have to find another school to attend.
Meaning, if he quits, he'll be expelled and he'll be evicted. Better than being turned into a stone statue, I suppose. In his dorm room, Casper is accompanied by this sad guitar riff, and soon, Quasi joins him on the bed. Apologizing for the situation and suggesting to just drop it all.
I am sorry you're in this mess, Casper. Let's just forget about my demands, okay?
Despite the pressure Casper is under, he says this.
Oh no. Look, Quasi, you want people to appreciate what you do, right?
Yes, this is right.
If you give in now, nothing will change. They'll still treat you like slug slime.
If there is one thing that Quasi is not, it is slug slime.
Casper ponders a way to get the headmasters to see what is so evident to the rest of us, that Scare School runs so efficiently due to the laborious work of Quasi in many different fields including gardening, pet care, plumbing, and everything in between. Without him, the school fails because he takes on the jobs no one wants to do, jobs that are essential for the everyday processes of the school. In the lab, Quasi and Casper work on a stinky formula using Quasi's dysfunctional sense of smell, creating something so horrendous and widespread that the scent frolics throughout the entire school, causing eyes to water, throats to burn, final prayers to be muttered, and children to be sacrificed, all in an attempt to escape the green odious fog. Essentially, chemical warfare. The headmasters call on their chore boy to handle the impending doom, but it kills Casper.
Do something, chore boy.
How the fuck do you kill a ghost? I don't know, but it just happened. Rip that nigga. A couple of the other staff die as well. Everyone's just fading away.
Villagers with bad smell.
And the headmasters are left with one option: rehire Quasi under the demands he requested.
At last you've come to your senses. Clean the school now.
No.
No?
Quasi, utilizing his stinky leverage, gets his job back and all of the requirements he requested.
Not unless you get me a new map, extra homework time, and be nice to me.
What?
It's beyond awful. A+ to whoever did it.
Okay, you made your point. We need you. Clean the school. Please?
More important than the occupation, the homework time, or dignity is a special token of workmanship that was destroyed by these very bosses.
What about my map?
Oh, we'll have to special order it.
Here, Quasi, use mine.
In no time at all, Quasi cleans up the school and we cut over to the lunchroom the next day. When he enters this time, the students cheer. Finally, Quasi is getting the respect and recognition he deserves for the critical role he plays around the school. But that's when Casper notices the lunch lady, another underpaid and overworked member of the staff who has no character to their name other than the job that they do. You know what this means? This is a job for the friendly ghost. This is a job for the voice of the working class.
The cafeteria thing works pretty hard. She should ask Alder and Dash for a raise. Excuse me, Miss Cafeteria thing?
Time is the most important resource that exists. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the physical manifestation of it. You can only do so many things in a human lifetime, and you probably want to do more than you'll actually get to do. Let yourself imagine what you could do with a little extra time. How many more books would you read? How much more exercise would you get? How much more quality time would you spend with your loved ones? Or would you just rest? Get a good night's sleep for once. Take a break, let your mind wander. Feel the sunshine on your skin. Play some of the games in your Steam backlog. Catch up on Better Call Saul. You could do all of it if you just had a little more free time. And that's a fun name, isn't it? Because if the time away from work is the time where you are free, what are you during work hours?
This episode is mad fun, and a message I don't often see in cartoons, especially with such a literal take on the subject. We see resistance movements in tons of media, like Star Wars or Liberty Kids. Not often do we see literal strikes of working class characters in cartoons. The only other time I can think of is the SpongeBob episode, where that strike isn't nearly as effective.
Yahoo! The strike worked, Squidward! We got our jobs back! Forever! 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 Forever!
But it's not like striking and cartoons are vastly different worlds apart. They're quite interconnected, like Deedstown and the Monster Dimension. Strikes have happened in the animated world since 1941, when Disney was facing a strike from its animators. Tom Saito, one of these animators, said, "Labor pressures have been building in the Magic Kingdom since promises made to the artists over the success of Snow White were reneged on, and Walt Disney's lawyer, Gunther Lessing, encouraged a hard line with his employees. And even now, with the writer strike that is nearing the end, which saw many writers asking for better wages and less use of AI technology in the writing process, requests to not have their work cheapened by the use of artificial intelligence, and to formulate pay structures to accommodate the new landscape of streaming services. These are requests that allow the people who work to create the magic that built up a company to maintain wages that reflect that work, instead of allowing those at the top to benefit from the successful craftsmanship when those execs had no substantial creative contribution to the process. Hence, the use of slogans such as, "Give up just one yacht," and "Pay your writers or we'll spoil Succession."
We're the headmasters here. We don't take demands from students.
Then Quasi's on strike.
Strike? Strike?
Strike?
That's what this episode of Casper is all about. We see Quasi handling odd job after odd job, constantly moving from one side of the school to the next to handle any inconvenience that happens on the school grounds. He's at the beck and call of every faculty member, as well as being a full-time student.
Am I boring you, Quasi? Perhaps an unreasonably harsh punishment will interest you more.
Ooh, my gym floor! Quasi! Oh, Quasi is on strike. What?
We see how draining this can be, how it literally leaves him no time to complete the tasks that are important to him, like homework, let alone fun activities or hobbies. Quasi never makes a request for fewer responsibilities, but rather just time to handle the rest of his to-do list.
Because if the time away from work is the time where you are free, what are you during work hours?
Not to mention, he doesn't get paid for any of this probably. This is all just volunteer, and these headmasters buckle to any mention of equity. Not drastically different from corporate heads who fight tirelessly to squash unionization and a more balanced relationship in the workforce.
Quasi needs 2 days off a week, more time to do his homework, and you gotta be nice to him. Oh, and a new mop.
Ridiculous!
The headmasters were only a few sentences away from calling Casper's support of the strike and workers' rights communist, just like Walt Disney said of the 1941 strike. In customer service, entertainment, and a variety of other work fields, it seems to be the working class blue-collar individuals who deal with the brunt of the bullshit, yet have little representation in the boardrooms that decide how little payment they get in exchange for this. There are still places with funk booty minimum wage like Texas with $7 an hour.
Ew!
How is someone supposed to feed their families with just one job at this amount of money? Well, you'll be happy to know it isn't that executives think you can feed your families with that much money. They know that you can't. They're very much aware of that. They just don't give a fuck.
Ridiculous!
Because they're making quadruple the amount of that without ever interacting with a customer and still pay less taxes than you. And not often are those higher positions procured through hard work and tenacity, but rather through the people they know. You don't always get far in the country of America by just working hard. You get farther by who you know. What zip code you were born into. What legacy or heritage you were fortunate enough to be brought into. And basically how lucky of a birth lottery did you get. More power to you if you work hard, but don't count on it equivalating to success. And that topic of who you know is important, even in the context of this cartoon. Luckily, Quasi knew Casper and his friends. Friends who saw how important Quasi was to the school's ecosystem, and more importantly Casper, who was willing to help out. Casper allows himself to be put on the line. He went through the bullying and work schedule that Quasi deals with on the regular just to take the pressure off of him.
Now you have to do all of Quasi's chores? I'm just giving him a break from all the hard work he does.
Plus, Alder and Dash threatened to expel you.
Plus that.
Yes, he was forced to, but he also did it for the cause. And more importantly, he was willing to stick out more of this punishment, as we see in the scene in the bedroom where Quasi wants to give in. I love the scene because it feels pretty real, despite it being with monsters that look like this.
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? You not like me?
Hell no!
Why?
Cause you're fucking ugly!
We can tell how much stress this has put Casper and Quasi through. And this scene reminds us of one of the other elements that inspired Quasi to make this strike. Not just for the extra time, but for the sense of appreciation. And the line Casper says about giving in before the fight's done is so accurate.
If you give in now, nothing will change. They'll still treat you like slug slime.
Giving up the resistance without receiving material compensation for the strike will lead right back to the status quo. So platitudes of "you're doing great," or "keep it up, we appreciate what you do here," or "keep writing shows for us, they're awesome," or "you're an essential worker," those things mean nothing unless there are material benefits that come along with those. It's like this, right? How good is a compliment about my cooking if I can't afford to feed my family with the check from the meals that I make? In the conclusion, we see the greatest weapon against the system that holds down Quasi is his own utility to that system. The fact that he is a major reason the school runs efficiently is both the school's biggest weakness and Quasi's greatest strength. This is similar to the slogans used during the writer's strike that threatened to spoil the show's succession. Quasi and Casper used this as a leverage against the headmasters to bargain for basic student rights. And honestly, less than basic student rights.
No, not until my demands are met. New map, more homework time, be nice.
It makes you think. If an aspect of a product is so essential to its successful usage, why isn't that aspect valued just as much as the others that make up the whole? This becomes an even more interesting question when you consider one part of the product has several yachts and doesn't know how to screenwrite a damn thing. This episode is a doozy and is one of my favorites of the series, honestly. Not only for its focus on an underutilized character in the show, but for its messaging, its jokes, and this look in Quasi's eyes. I liked the foreshadowing with the stink class and thought overall the story was communicated very clearly. I would have liked to know how, why, or when Quasi got this job at the school, but this was already dealing with a lot to communicate in the 15 minutes it had. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And I really appreciate a subscribe if you have the time to. I'd love to know what other shows you'd like me to check out. Maybe even what you thought of this episode or even striking in general. I've been Witty G. Be happy, be healthy, and be nice. And I'll see you later. Bye.